Okay, continuation of the murder mystery. I left a few folks hanging. There was a want for more content on the topic, so I'm going to unveil a little bit more of what's happened underneath the hood with my previous client. I'll leave them unnamed, so I just keep myself away from the soup as much as possible still, but you can figure it out. I say murder mystery because it is the most blatant example of corporate murder I've witnessed in my career. Obviously, directly involved in it this time, but I don't even think I've seen, through the media, some level of this kind of egregious first-degree corporate murder happen. So it's the company started with strategic investment to do a strategic project. So the formation of the company was rather hasty. Capital came in, pretty much right out of the gate, which created a governance structure where the operators and founders were not directors of the company, and therefore everyone was working for the board of directors who were not operational in the company and working on behalf of those strategic investors. And as the company generated, built a team of over 25 people, all of whom were employees. Myself as a contractor here in North America, but all my teammates are, UK-based employees under the labor laws of the United Kingdom. That team got built up, 25 very high-end people and engineers in particular that, companies have driven valuations just off of that type of talent base. So that's an interesting aside there. But, companies essentially working for the board of directors. Team went out, sourced tier one angel investors who are also attached to institutional investment funds, and put a term sheet on the table in April. And so that, there was a kind of fairly natural rollover of the term sheet negotiation from April into May, which put the company into a cash crunch, and asked the team to kind of hold off on April payroll and contractor payments and things like that, which was well communicated, transparent. Team bought in of, okay, if I got to wait a couple of weeks to get paid for April, that's okay, and get the round closed, and we'll have 18 months to 24 months of runway from there, and we won't have to worry about this type of problem. And negotiation continued through May as the new U.S.-based investors tried to inject 18 to 24 months worth of runway into the company and let us capitalize on the opportunities that we're generating in the market, as well as continue to develop the core platform. And that was going really well. Thus the investor validation, and we were starting to get market validation even in the midst of COVID. And the installed directors and the incumbent investors kept pushing back, and admittedly there was a down round perception around that, of which I'm pretty sure everyone who did it, who's done a round in the last 3 to 4 months is in some format of a down round. And I think even that would be an unfair qualification given the structure of the company. And so pushing back on dilution and things like that, which is reasonable, but not willing to put new capital onto the table to defend their position with a pro rata or provide different terms. They're defensively negotiating. And so I perceive this as, okay, well, there's money on the table. Your best alternative to negotiated agreement is taking the money that's been offered. Cash is king. And so, knowing the company is, at this point near the end of May, has constructively dismissed the team, which, if you work in a Western economy with labor laws, that doesn't go well for the fiduciaries and directors of those companies who constructively dismiss their employees. So couldn't understand what the rationale, motivation, or incentive to reject the deal on the table that would bring the money in, that would minimally pay the payroll and get those directors off the hook for having constructively dismissed 25 people plus. So I was confident a deal was going to get done. Whether it was a good deal or bad deal, interesting nuance for after the fact, but a deal was going to get done because, getting sued and pursued by the employees, and then obviously I would suspect the UK government in some way, shape, or form pursuing that and going after the directors isn't a good outcome that anybody wants as a professional director or investor. So I was confident a deal would get done, and they took it all the way and rejected the deal, and now the company's in administration, and that's almost a 3-week status of we're going to administration. The administrator hasn't been appointed, so my teammates who are salaried employees are still kind of in no person land of status, and not able to file correctly with the UK government, and as a Canadian, I'll put it Canadian, get their records of employment and file for employment insurance. So it's very disturbing that, and it completely and utterly irrational based on the data available, and what I've done from my little bit of digging is, it doesn't make any sense from a business perspective, and then from a human perspective, it's absolutely utterly immoral. You've left these people in an absolute lurch in the middle, regardless of the COVID crisis, but even more so in the COVID crisis, there might be some opportunities that these directors are taking advantage of COVID and some of the reliefs that have been provided to directors around bankruptcy and things like that in the United Kingdom to help motivate operators, directors to keep businesses open or keep them afloat, which they've clearly abused in this context, as money was on the table to keep the company going. And so that's a little bit of, the murder mystery isn't quite solved, but there's a bit more flavor. I'm not sure what to do with it or do about it, but kind of felt the need to share it. At some point, I suspect I'd want to name and shame, but I have no desire to get myself into situations that aren't necessary or beneficial, but kind of feel the need to step up and defend my teammates a little bit, just because they've been put in an untenable position. All I got is 2 months of account receivables that I'm going to write off and move on and try and find new clients. They're in this very odd situation given the labor considerations of being salaried employees. There's my kind of latest summary. That's not quite a month since the deed. It'll be a month next week, but I just thought I'd put that out there and share that a bit. Cheers.